Gemini is without a doubt one of the most.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel.
Consumed in flames of hunger and wrath. Thus came the age of true wisdom to a blistering close. The Knights Templar, once the proud shepherds of order, peace, and illumination, were no more.
Yeah, let's get a sniffer running. If Abstergo pings us, pull me out. Okay, I have a visual. Hey there. This is probably disorienting, so I'll be brief. I'm Bishop, not my real name, obviously, but that's as much as you'll get today. Please listen carefully. Abstergo is using you, hijacking your neurons to help them sift through genetic memory data. These guys don't have their fingers in countless corporations, governments, media outlets, and NGOs. But now, they want control over history itself. If that doesn't frame you, it should. But we're here to stop them, and I need your help. Deacon, preload gene sequence AD16, B13, I87.
Consumed in flames of hunger and wrath. Thus came the age of true wisdom to a blistering close. The Knights Templar, once the proud shepherds of order, peace, and illumination, were no more.
Yeah, let's get a sniffer running. If Abstergo pings us, pull me out. Okay, I have a visual. Hey there. This is probably disorienting, so I'll be brief. I'm Bishop, not my real name, obviously, but that's as much as you'll get today. Please listen carefully. Abstergo is using you, hijacking your neurons to help them sift through genetic memory data. These guys don't have their fingers in countless corporations, governments, media outlets, and NGOs. But now, they want control over history itself. If that doesn't frame you, it should. But we're here to stop them, and I need your help. Deacon, preload gene sequence AD16, B13, I87.
So this is the type of card you don't see walk up very often at card shows. This is a grail card.
Once I let it go, I won't get another one. Who am I? My name is Michael Francis, and when it comes to this life, La Cosa Nostra Mafia in this country, I know as much or more about this life than anybody that ever lived it. Why? Because I lived it. I was a made member of the Colombo family. I made as much or more money for that life than anybody since Al Capone. And I can tell you about every facet of that life that you need to know. And I'm not telling you from behind a curtain. I don't have any axe to grind. I'm telling you because I lived it. And this was my life.
Michael's introduction to the mob began with his father, Sonny Francis, a feared gangster and underboss for the Colombo crime family.
My dad was my idol. I loved him. Great father, great husband to my mom.
Sonny is a legend in his own time. Okay? Everybody looked up to him.
But I did see the other side of him a couple of times. I've seen people shudder at the name of Sonny Francis. They want to mess with him. For instance, I'd be playing baseball, and he would walk on the field, everybody's looking at him, and, once or twice I noticed I'm up there, and, pitch come over the plate, should have been strike three, but the umpire wouldn't call it. Never called strike three on me when he seen Dad, and
He was the man. And we all respected him for that.
I thought I had a normal childhood. I had FBI agents outside my door 24/7, seeing people come and go, who went to jail, who got killed. That's the world I grew up in.
Michael's entry into this violent world became official when he witnessed one of the most famous hits in mob history. It's June 28, 1971. The second annual Italian-American Unity Day rally in New York City. Joe Colombo, head of one of New York's 5 mafia families, and Michael's father's boss, is about to make a speech.
We probably had well over 50,000 people. We had a big stage set up. He motioned to me. He said, Mike, I want you to head towards Lincoln Center, and I want you to hand these brochures out to everybody. And I said, okay, Joey, no problem. And I was exhilarated. It was a great day. And I turn away to walk away from him, and I get maybe 10 steps. And I hear boom, 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 shots. People start to scream. I turn around, and somebody yells out, Joey's been hit, Joey's been hit. When he got shot, I was right there. I was the last person he spoke to. I was 21.
This moment had a lasting effect on Michael, and was the beginning of his life in the mob. To understand Michael's role in the mob, you must first understand its roots, which go back to Sicily, a small island off the coast of Italy.
There's no mafia in the United States. Mafia exists in Italy. It doesn't exist here. In America, it's called La Cosa Nostra. It means this thing about us.
For hundreds of years, Sicily was occupied or controlled by foreign intruders, foreign invaders. And what this led to was, in effect, patriotic groups that sprang up, randomly sometimes, band together to oppose these oppressors. So these origins of the mafia were well intentioned.
But these patriots eventually turned to crime. When a wave of Italian immigrants sailed to America in the 1800s, many of these criminals joined them.
When many of the Italian immigrants came over here, the mafia was able to gain a foothold. They called it back then the Black Hand. Black Hand essentially extorted Italian businessmen. That was their business back in Italy. That's what they did over here.
For the first 2 decades in the 20th century, Italian or Sicilian gangsters in America were operating on their own. They were just street thugs, robbers, thieves, extortionists. There was no real organization.
Organization came to these street gangsters thanks to a law passed by the United States Congress in 1919.
Now, all this change from prohibition became the law in America. Overnight, a lot of these Sicilian and Italian gangsters saw what an opportunity. This could be a gold mine. They now got into bootlegging, and overnight they became millionaires.
They learned early on that the only way to get power is through money. Ruled America then, rules America today.
So whatever was out there, whatever made a big buck, they were into, and they had no competition.
During this period, the American mafia thrived. But rivalries were soon formed, turning New York City into a violent gangland.
From 1930 to 1931, 40 to 50 casualties occurred. When you see these movies in the 1930s about these cars coming around, shooting up streets, it's true. That's what they were doing in New York.
This wave of violence ended when a young gangster named Charles Lucky Luciano rose to power and realized that war was bad for business. Luciano and 4 other mob leaders became heads of the original 5 families and created a commission where the groups could peacefully coexist.
It was Luciano's idea of creating a commission, and violence had to be used. It had to be cleared through the commission. So the whole idea was, when you think about it, ingenious. The commission basically brought organization to organized crime.
Luciano's organization grew in the decades to come and dominated much of Brooklyn, where the story of Michael Franzese continues.
But see, the thing is, you can do anything in this town that you wanted to do. was a safe haven. Nobody would ever give you up. Ever. I mean, you can shoot a guy in the street, you can have a brawl, you can blow up a car. Nobody knew anything. Now, this really feels home. This was our neighborhood. So I tell you, though, it brings back a lot of memories. A lot of these things, the tattoos, come on, you never had a tattoo place around here. We weren't supposed to get tattoos because you don't want any identifying marks if you were to do anything, you know? Now, what's this? Chinese or something? Forget it, we never had any Chinese here. No Chinese places, no tattoo places. My grandfather came over here in 1910, 1911. This was it. Now you see, this was our building right here. You see this? That's where it all started. And this is where my father started. You know, again, he was one of 4 brothers. And they were all tough guys. You know, my Uncle Nufrio, in the basement of one of these houses here, the guy owed him money, didn't want to pay. My uncle actually hung him up and had a blowtorch to his feet. And there was a blowtorch in the guy's feet until he paid. That was my uncle. Everybody was afraid of him.
Even though he grew up with organized crime, Michael was never pushed toward a career in it. Surprisingly, his father had always tried to steer him away.
Yeah, my dad didn't want me involved in life. He had hopes for me to get an education. He wanted me to be a doctor. I mean, that's what I heard all my life. Go to school, be a doctor.
Michael's plans changed dramatically when his father was convicted in a bank robbery case and sentenced to 50 years in prison. At 19, Michael became the new head of the household and turned to jail along with the commission structure, kept bloodshed to a minimum, and led to the mob's extraordinary success. None of this would have been possible without a mob mediation tool known as the sit-down.
Remember, the cardinal rule of the mob is don't interfere with making money.
Yeah, one thing you never really hear about, which is such a significant part of our life, is the sit-down.
A sit-down is a meeting, and it's a way of resolving a dispute without actually getting violent, and it's part of the legacy of Luciano.
You have a sit down because one side knows that this side could get very violent with that side. What we really want to do is come to this table, sit down, and let's end this thing amicably. That's the way you make money. That's the way things go smooth.
More money was lost or made at a sit-down than you can imagine. I'm talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. Everything was resolved and decided in a sit-down.
And if they can resolve it, it will be resolved at that level. If necessary, to be taken up to a higher level.
They're going to make a decision so that this thing doesn't have to be in the streets. And 99% of the time, it does work smoothly.
Michael Franzese learned the power of the sit-down when he was a rising star in the mob and found himself toe-to-toe with another up-and-comer named John Gotti.
John and I are both soldiers at the time, and 2 of my associates come to me and they say, Mike, we got this flea market. We got a guy in the flea market who's got trouble with his partner. His partner's dealing drugs. They said, if you can help him out, and you'll take a percentage of the market. We find a drug dealer, we chase him out. That's the story. A week, 10 days later, I get a call from John Gotti. He says, Mike, there's a guy in a flea market. He's with me. I said, too late, John. I threw him out, and him and I are going at it. Back and forth. We can't resolve anything there. So we had to go and have a sit-down. My dad was my captain at the time, and I said, Dad, I can't resolve this alone. You got to come. I said, I know you're on parole, but we got to work it out somehow. So we meet in a sit-down in somebody's house. And I said, Dad, look, I already understand John. This guy can't lose. I'm going to tell John I'm buying you out. He's going to say, you don't buy me out, I buy you out. At the end of the day, that's what I really want. So we go in there and I said, hey, John, I'll tell you what, I'm going to buy you out. I'll give you 250 grand, you're out. You buy me out, I buy you out. He said, I'll buy you out of the market. That's how we're going to resolve it. I said, I'll tell you what, John, you got it, no problem. Because I knew we couldn't work together. There was no way. And that's the strategy that my dad and I used. So he bought us out, 250 grand. That was a typical sit-down.
Understanding the art of being a successful wise guy takes years of study. It all starts with becoming a recruit, which means finding a way to get on the mob's radar.
Nobody's doing any recruiting. Nobody's dragging anybody into anything. Nobody says, you come in. It's nothing like that. You have to go after that.
Once a guy shows some promise, he can become an official recruit only through the recommendation of a made member.
Guy under my dad, he picked me up, and he took me to see, at that time, the acting boss. He said, I got a message from your father. He said, you want to become a member of this life. Here's the deal. From now on, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're on call to serve this family. He said, from this point on, I'm putting you with a capo regime, a captain, Andrew Russo. He's your guy. Anything Andrew tells you, you do without question. Can you do that? Yes. That's it. You're in.
However, it's still a long road from new recruit to made man.
You know, when I was a recruit, this was my office. Every day I had to be here. We had a social club right up the street. We were soon to be here in Hamilton. When you're a recruit, you just shut up and listen. You speak when you're spoken to, and you observe and you learn the life. If you're smart, that's what you do. And you become a very, very good listener. I learned a lot during that recruiting period.
But there were times when Michael had to learn the hard way.
You can't make mistakes. So one day, I had to be at the social club up the street. So I'm driving in from Long Island. I'm on the Bell Parkway. There's a ton of traffic. So I get there. I'm late. Forget about it. My capo regime tells me, how could you be late? Don't you ever do this again? You're not worthy to be a member. I mean, he ran a riot act on me. He said, tomorrow you be at Monty's at 1 o'clock. We got an appointment. I said, all right, all right. So I get to Monty's the next day. I'm there at 12 o'clock. 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30. Finally, it was about 4:30, 4:45. I see my captain, Andrew, pull up. He's okay. Did you get the message? I said, I got it, Chief. He said, go home. That was it. I was never late again.
It's not enough just to know the rules. A recruit needs to prove how he'll be of value to the organization.
You kind of distinguish yourself in that life as to what kind of role you're going to play. Every guy in a life is always looking for the next score. But some guys were a little bit more talented than others in finding that score and developing it, making money at it. Other guys, they were a little more talented in doing what we call the work. The muscle, I guess you can call it. And you kind of distinguish yourself as either or. Rarely are you both. Early on in my recruiting period, I kind of distinguished myself as an earner. I'll tell you this, there was a lot more workers than there were earners. Quite honestly, the guys that relished the violence, they didn't make any money. They were doing the work because they couldn't do anything else.
An example of one such worker was a tough enforcer named Nicholas Grancio, known on the street as Nicky Black.
Nicky Black he was a soldier in our family for a while. He had a bar. I had to go see him one day, and he's in the back room, and he says, Mike, come on back here. And he's got some guy back there who's a gambler. Gambler owes him money, and the guy wasn't paying him. So he puts the guy's hand on the bar, he takes a hammer, boom, breaks the guy's knuckles, right there. The guy's screaming. He says, imagine this guy, Mike. He says, you don't want to pay me. I gave him 1 chance, 2 chances. Boom. Got to teach him a lesson. That's Nicky Black.
But on January 7th, 1992, Nicky Black's career came to an abrupt end. For Michael, this was another important lesson in mob life.
This life is like a wheel. Things turn around. If you're quick to pull the trigger, when it comes your turn, and it will someday, people are going to be quick to do the same with you.
Michael worked the streets of Brooklyn for almost 2 years, waiting patiently to become a made member of the Colombo family. The call finally came on Halloween, 1975.
I get a call to meet at the social club, wear a suit. I kind of assumed something was up that night. 10 o'clock at night, we start driving. We end up at a catering hall. I don't ask any question. Get out of the car, go into the hall. I see a bunch of other guys there. Figure, hey, not a surprise party. This must be it. Yeah, we go inside. We're all in this back room. They start calling us in one at a time. Mike, come here. Mike, come here. I go in. I see a place where there's a little flicker of light. I see all the captains lined up. We had about 15 in the family at that time.
Today I'm going to be running through exactly how to use Google Anti-Gravity. If you've never used Anti-Gravity, basically it's a free way to code with Google, and you can also get access to Claude as well, and it's completely free. You can code locally with this, you can build some amazing stuff with this, and you can download it at antigravity.google. Once you
I thought I'd build a proof of concept AI agent using Temporal. So what's cool about my agent?
You can build some amazing stuff with this, and you can download it at antigravity.google. Once you're in, you're going to be able to build stuff like this, as you can see. And I'll show you, for example, how to use this to build apps, tools, websites, landing pages, almost anything that you want, and how to master it. It's very easy because literally you just type in say simple English, exactly what you want, and you can get started straight away. And today, what you're going to learn is how to set up Anti-Gravity from scratch, how to build your first app with one sentence, how to use screenshots to make changes, how to watch your app get built in real time, the exact settings you need to switch on, and yes, this is free right now because it's in public preview. Alright, so we're going to test it out today. We're going to use the Anti-Gravity acceleration system, and this is my simple framework for turning Google Anti-Gravity into a customer getting machine for your business, right? And most people would download this tool and make a calculator or an app or a to-do list, and that's fun, but it's not going to help you so much, right, with lead generation and that sort of thing. Instead, you can build like a lead capture landing page for your website, or a quiz that qualifies potential customers, or a tool that shows off your expertise, or a dashboard that makes you look professional. That's what separates those who tinker with those who build real businesses. Alright, so let me talk you through exactly how we're going to use this, right? So first thing you want to do is just download this from Anti-Gravity. All the links and notes from today are inside the AI Success Lab. Link in the comments description. Completely free community, as you can see right here, with 40,700 members. And if you go inside the classroom here, you go to December 2025, and then from here you can see that we've got all the video notes from today. And we're going to work through this 30-day Anti-Gravity.
I grew as a man.
Seven, 2, 0. Boom, boom, boom. Finally.
Day Anti-Gravity Mastery Plan, as you can see, and we'll just run through exactly how to use it. So first thing you're going to do today, I'm going to be running through exactly how to use Google Anti-Gravity. If you've never used Anti-Gravity, basically it's a free way to code with Google, and you can also get